I'm Miranda, 28, standing in the grand foyer of my $45 million Palm Beach villa. The opulence around me feels surreal. Just 24 hours ago, I was homeless, sobbing in my car after my father screamed, "Get out," and threw my belongings onto the front lawn. How did my life take such a drastic turn? I grew up in a simple townhouse in a small town community in Ohio. My father, Henry, was a nonsense factory worker. He believed in hard work, frugality, and following a well-trodden path. His world was about clocking in at the factory, paying bills on time, and having a stable future. On the other hand, my mother, Lily, was a free-spirited artist. She painted landscapes in her spare time and always encouraged my creative pursuits. When I was 16, she passed away from a sudden illness. After that, something in my father hardened. He became more strict, more focused on making me fit into his idea of a successful life. My older brother, Ethan, took after my father. He studied business at a local university and got a job at a big company in the city. He was my father's pride and joy, always sending money home and visiting on holidays. As for me, I was drawn to the world of art. I loved visiting art galleries, sketching, and learning about art history. After high school, I got a partial scholarship to study art history at a nearby college. My father tolerated it because I had a boyfriend, Tom, who was studying engineering. Dad thought Tom's practicality would rub off on me. After graduation, Tom moved to another state for a job, and our relationship ended. I landed a job at a small art studio in town. The pay was meager, but I loved every moment of it. I helped with art restoration projects and curated small exhibitions. However, my father couldn't understand why I'd choose such a low-paying job when I could have gone into something more practical. To save money, I moved back home. Every day, I'd face my father's disappointed looks over dinner. His constant question was, "When are you going to get a real job?" 6 months ago, a woman named Vivian entered our lives. Dad met her at a community event. She was 48, a financial advisor who had recently moved to our town. Within weeks, she was staying over, and within 2 months, she had moved in. From the start, something about Vivian felt off. She was overly sweet to my father but cold and dismissive of me. She would rearrange my room, saying it was for better organization, and make snide remarks about my art-related purchases. One day, I received news that I'd inherited a small sum of money from a distant relative. Vivian found out and immediately told me that as an adult living at home, I should start contributing more to household expenses. My father, under her influence, agreed. Reluctantly, I started giving them a portion of my meager income. Then, I noticed that some of my mother's precious paintings were missing. When I asked Vivian about it, she claimed that my father had given them to her, saying my mother would have wanted her to have them. I knew it was a lie, but when I confronted my father, he was confused, repeating Vivian's words. I called Ethan, desperate for support, but he told me I was being paranoid and that Dad was happy for the first time in years. One fateful day at work, I was helping with some financial paperwork and noticed a large transfer from my father's account to Vivian's. I investigated further and found out that she had been systematically draining my father's savings. When I confronted her, she tried to cover it up, saying it was for their future plans. She even deleted the evidence I had collected on my phone. That evening, when my father came home, Vivian had a fake bruise on her face and accused me of hitting her. My father, without a second thought, believed her. He roared at me to get out of the house, saying I was ungrateful and causing trouble. Heartbroken, I packed my things in the rain as my father threw more of my belongings onto the lawn. I drove away, homeless and betrayed. I spent the night in my car, feeling utterly lost. The next morning, a friend from the art studio let me stay at her place. While unpacking, I found an unopened letter from a law firm in Florida. When I opened it, I was shocked to learn that I was the sole beneficiary of a large estate left by my great-uncle, Arthur. He was an eccentric art collector who had made a fortune in real estate and art investments. He had been keeping tabs on me, impressed by my dedication to art. 24 hours later, I found myself in Palm Beach, standing in front of this magnificent villa. The housekeeper, Rosa, welcomed me with a warm smile and showed me around. The villa was filled with priceless art pieces, and there was a special suite prepared just for me. It was as if my great uncle had been waiting for me. As I settled into my new life, I decided to establish an art foundation in honor of my great uncle and my mother. The foundation would support young artists and provide art education to underprivileged children. However, the past caught up with me. Ethan found out about my inheritance through an article in an art magazine and contacted me. Then my father and Vivian showed up at my villa. When they arrived, Vivian was eyeing the art pieces greedily, and my father looked thinner and more tired. They said they were worried about me, but I knew the real reason. Vivian suggested that they could help me manage my wealth, given my father's financial experience and her expertise. I showed them security footage of Vivian stealing my mother's paintings and the bank statements of her draining my father's accounts. The truth was out, and Vivian's mask slipped. She lashed out at me, but I was no longer the vulnerable girl she once knew. My father was heartbroken to learn the truth. He apologized, saying he was lonely and had made a terrible mistake. I told him I needed time to heal. I was starting to build a new life, a life where I could follow my passion and make a difference. And although the journey had been painful, I was grateful for the unexpected blessing that led me to this new path.